So today is primary day in D.C., and so if you're a district resident, you have 4 more hours to cast your ballot in some hotly contested council races.
That's right. We are watching all of those races for you, and our Delia Gonsalves is at a polling place in Ward 7. That's the finishing line for one of the biggest races. And Delia, I know you're on top of all of the key contests, but let's talk about the re-election bid for current council member Janice Lewis-George in Ward 4. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Simone. In fact, we're hoping that viewers do stay with WUSA 9 for the remainder of our broadcast as we continue to break down the top 3 council races folks need to know about. First at 4, though, we will focus indeed on that Ward 4 race. You know, I just talked to the mayor just a couple of weeks ago, and she once represented Ward 4 on the council, compared the residential neighborhoods in Ward 7 here a lot to those in Ward 4. But whether or not you live here in Southeast or in Upper Northwest, crime continues to be a major concern, and it's playing a huge factor in this Ward 4 race. Even though the latest MPD data shows violent crime is down 27% from this time last year, it remains a top priority, especially as voters consider who will represent them on the council. The Ward 4 incumbent has received criticism from her competitors for being too liberal on public safety. In fact, during the crime bill debate, Councilmember Janice Lewis-George voted against the provision to detain someone pre-trial. But she is quick to remind folks she's the only candidate who worked as a prosecutor. Former Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner Paul Johnson and current ANC Lisa Gore are challenging to unseat her.
We've had a number of robberies and break-ins to vehicles. I think also general quality of life is of great importance to a lot of people. I think that it's important to have somebody who has certain qualifications coming in. I think that people need to have a position.
We need to get more young people, try to encourage them to get out and vote. Just get out and vote. People talk about weed, it's not going to matter, but we're only going to count in numbers.
We've talked to a lot of voters today who say it is important to come out. In fact, talked to someone in Ward 8 who convinced her brother to come to the polls to vote and cast his ballot. So far, the Board of Elections reports that they've collected over 52,000 ballots here in the District of Columbia. That includes early voting, drop box, and mail-in ballots as well. We should note that Council Member at Large Robert White, he is facing off with comedian Rodney Red Grant. Both men ran and lost their bid for mayor 2 years ago. Coming up, we're going to stick here in Ward 7 and talk about the hotly contested and watched race for Ward 7 council member who will replace retiring Vince Gray, who leaves office after 20 years and has been dominating politics, not only in D.C., but here in Ward 7. So we'll have a breakdown of that race coming up in an hour. Back to you in the studio.
Yeah, it is a big day for sure, Delia. The direction of the district most certainly at stake. Thank you. We'll be checking in with you again at 5.